Welcome Meals with Maria, recording from an alternate location today. We are in full kitchen renovation mode, and I basically have a stove and a sink and an air fryer. So that's what we're going with. Where I normally record, it's gone. But I'm excited to show you the new setup once we have it. So from now on, I'll be coming to you from my bedroom and doing a lot more overhead shots for a little while until we get things settled. That being said, I want to bring you guys some freezer meals today, and not only just freezer meals, some healthy freezer meals, some budget-friendly freezer meals, something that's super easy to make that you can pop in your freezer and eat anytime. I know it's the new year, we're all making resolutions, trying to get healthier, and these are things that I know I'm going to eat because sometimes I make healthy things and I'm like, oh, I don't want to eat that. So I specifically want to choose things that I'm like, I'm excited to eat this. I can't wait to make this. So I made a detox soup for you that actually looks amazing because it has butternut squash, which is like one of my favorites. A healthy mac and cheese, so you know, healthy-ish, and some breakfast burritos that I already had one of, and they're amazing. Super, super simple, and I'm just excited to share. So come along with me. I'll make some healthy meals and something that you can put in your freezer too.
So we're going to get started by making our lighter baked mac and cheese. I'm just going to salt my pasta water here, and I'm going to put some medium shells in here, and I'm just going to cook this whole 16-ounce container. Now the recipe does call for 12 ounces of whole wheat, but I had 16 ounces of regular, and that's what I'm going to go with. So not as healthy, but that's okay. And then I'm just going to spray down this pan. You can get one of these at the Dollar Tree, no problem, or if you have something that you can freeze, go for it. Just want to put 2 tablespoons of butter in a pan over medium heat and add in 2 tablespoons of flour once the butter is melted down. Just going to be making a roux here. So you just want to mix this quite a bit. I felt like mine, I was a little nervous that it was getting burnt, but honestly it didn't get burnt at all. It was still amazing and not a problem. So just really want to make sure that you're always mixing this, because if you aren't, it will burn to the bottom of the pan. Next up, we're going to add a 1/4 cup of onion to this roux. So once everything is mixed up well here, I'm just adding my 1/4 cup of diced onion. And I actually felt like, hey, you probably could have put more onion in this, so go ahead and chop up whatever you had. I had about a half an onion around, like a small onion, and I just chopped all that up and put it in. So you just want to mix this around for about 2 minutes and kind of wilt down your onion. And then at that point, you want to add 2 cups of skim milk and 1 cup of chicken broth or vegetable broth. And I, of course, use chicken bouillon because that is my favorite way to use or make chicken broth. It's just so much cheaper. And she did say to whisk this, and I don't know, for some reason I couldn't find my whisk at the time. So I'm just using my spatula here, and I had absolutely no problem mixing it up. It didn't get lumpy or anything. At this point, you want to raise the temperature on the stove to medium-high and bring this up to a boil. You really want to keep stirring it during this time and let it thicken. Once my sauce had thickened, I just added a little bit of salt and pepper to it and mixed everything up. And now that my sauce is at it's like a really thick consistency here, I'm just going to remove it from the heat, and then we're going to start adding about 8 ounces of light cheese, 1/4 cup at a time. This sauce turned out so creamy and delicious. This recipe is a skinny taste recipe, and I'm not sure if anyone has ever tried those before, but they usually taste amazing. My husband always loves them. And I think that can be attributed to the use of chicken broth. The addition of chicken broth to this sauce adds a lot of flavor for very few calories. So now I'm just going to add in my spinach. The recipe called for, I think it was like 4 cups of fresh spinach, but I just had like a half a container of frozen spinach on hand, something that I'd frozen because it was going to go bad. If I haven't said it before, do not forget to freeze your spinach if it's about to go bad. You can just put that entire bag right in the freezer, and it works great for recipes like this as well as smoothies. So I'm just mixing that right in, and it just melted right away, so it was no problem that it was fully frozen. And then I'm just going to add in my fully cooked shells. And even though I added like an extra 4 ounces of shells, it turned out fine. There was plenty of sauce on this, and it tasted so amazing. I had a real hard time throwing this one in the freezer. I wanted to eat it that night for dinner. So once everything is well mixed, you just want to pour that right into the pan that you're going to put in the freezer. And then cover that up with some Parmesan cheese. So I'm just sprinkling on some parm here. The recipe also calls for some breadcrumbs, but I decided I would leave those off and then just remember to put some breadcrumbs on it right before I put it in the oven when I'm ready to eat it. I am going to link this recipe below so that you know exactly how to cook it once it comes out of the freezer, and you can have all of the instructions as well. I just wrapped mine up in a bunch of tin foil and popped it in the freezer, and I can see myself eating this when I serve some chili or maybe some ribs. Those are my favorite things to eat mac and cheese with. The next recipe is for a detox lentil stew. Now, I had planned on making something completely different when I realized I did not have the ingredients. So I went searching on the internet to find a freezer meal that I had the ingredients for already, and I found this butternut squash lentil stew. And I was happy to see that I already had a butternut squash and all the things I needed in my pantry. So I'm hoping this might be something that you would only need a few items to make as well. So I'm just slicing up my butternut squash. The recipe calls for 2 cups, but I figured, heck, let's just put the whole thing in, because what else am I going to use this butternut squash for? So you can see my method of cutting. I just kind of cut it in the middle, and then I cut down the sides, and that seems to be the easiest for me to get the skin off. I've seen some people cut it with a vegetable peeler, but that seems like a lot of work to me. It's pretty thick skin, so I like to use a knife to do this. And once you get those 2 rounds going, it's a lot easier. So here I'm just adding the butternut squash to a freezer bag that I have. I do have reusable freezer bags, but I realized I had actually used all of them. I will link those below for you. They're amazing, and I'm actually going to purchase some more because all of mine are in the freezer. And then I put 1 cup of dried lentils into the bag, and I'm just cutting up some carrots, some onion, and celery. These are all things that I had in my fridge, are super inexpensive. Your carrots can run you 82 cents for a whole pound of them. A small onion should be less than 70 cents. And when you buy some celery, I think it's about $1.23 at Walmart, but sometimes I can find it for cheaper. So you're still coming in at a really, really low price for this entire soup. Now I'm just going to grate in 2 cloves of garlic into 4 cups of chicken broth or vegetable broth, or in this case, chicken bouillon. And you could totally use garlic powder here if you don't have fresh garlic cloves, not a problem at all. I just love this little method of grating the garlic and putting in there. It gives a lot of flavor. Like I said, powder will be fine too. Now I'm just going to slice up 1 white potato and put that in my soup. Potatoes are also super inexpensive. I believe the last time I bought a single potato was at Trader Joe's for about 30 cents. So this is totally doable. And once that potato goes in there, I am just going to pour over all of that chicken bouillon right into the bag. And before I close this up, I am going to add some, it's supposed to be herbs de Provence, but I don't have herbs de Provence. So the recipe called for 1 tablespoon of these herbs. I put in some oregano, rosemary, and some basil and some salt and pepper, and that pretty much should do it. I think it's going to taste delicious. So I'm just closing that up, trying to make sure that I get all of the air out of the bag so that it freezes really well. And then I'm just going to write on the bag and say what it is and the date that I made it, and in this case, how to cook it. So my goal is to cook this in the crock pot on low for 6 to 8 hours. but I believe the website has a lot of different choices too on how you can cook it. So crock pot or not, you can have this soup. I'm so excited to make it someday when I need something quick for my family. Now it's time to make some freezer breakfast burritos. So the recipe calls for 6 slices of bacon, and it actually has you cook them in a pan, but I'm going to use my favorite method, which is just popping them in the microwave, because I feel like when we're making breakfast burritos or anything that has bacon in it, that you're not just eating bacon, go ahead and use the microwave method. I think it's so easy. Just put that paper towel over it and cook those 4 slices for 4 minutes, and they are perfectly crispy. And now I'm just going to beat up 10 eggs. So that's what the recipe calls for. And I'm just going to crack these in here and beat those up. So you're going to need 4 scallions for this, and it seems like a lot. Like when I was cutting these up, I'm like, wow, that's a lot of scallions for 10 eggs. But I'll tell you that it tastes amazing and totally worth it. So do not skimp out on the scallions if it feels like it's a lot. Keep cutting them up, use them all. It's worth it. They should all go in there. So I'm just dicing those into small pieces. And now the recipe calls for a red onion, but hey, I had a yellow, so that's what we're using today. And I'm just going to slice up and dice up my yellow onion. And we're going to use both of those things in our eggs. So now I'm just going to get my eggs started by spraying down my pan with some nonstick spray. Now, if you did cook your bacon in a pan, just reserve about a tablespoon of that bacon fat, and you can cook the eggs right in the pan that you cook the bacon in. I'm just going to pour the eggs in there over medium heat, and then I'm actually going to add all of my veggies as well. You can mix that in ahead of time if you want to too. It's no problem. It's all supposed to be mixed together. And then just cook your eggs like regular scrambled eggs. Mix them up, move them around quite a bit. Make sure that they don't stick to the bottom of the pan, and you're going to have some delicious scrambled eggs for your egg burritos. Now it's time to assemble our burritos. I am using some low-carb tortillas that I got at Aldi, and these run, I think, like $2.49, so they're definitely a little bit more expensive. If you are not into going completely healthy or you need to save some money, go ahead and just buy the cheaper tortillas. I'm sure it's not a big deal. So I'm just going to add the eggs into the 6 tortillas equally. And then I am going to place the bacon strips over them. So I have 6 strips of bacon, which means 6 burritos, 1 strip of bacon per burrito. And then we are going to top that with about a tablespoon of shredded cheese on top, and use whatever your favorite cheese is. It does recommend pepper jack, which I think would be delicious. I just didn't have pepper jack, so I'm using cheddar. And then we're just going to roll them up. Like I said, I already tried one of these and they are amazing. So I am so excited to have these in my freezer, and they're actually going to be great for my husband to grab in the morning as well. I'm probably going to make up a bunch more of them pretty soon too, because 6 just does not seem like enough. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video today. I appreciate you all so much. If you're new here, I make videos like this. I do extreme grocery budget challenges and grocery hauls, and I do have a video that is similar to this out there that is 4 freezer meals for $20, and they're all chicken meals. They're all delicious. I have eaten them all, and I 100% recommend them. So I will make sure to link that below, and you'll also see it pop up on the screen here in a minute. And I just appreciate you guys so much. I do also want to mention that I do wrap these tortillas in tinfoil, because that's what the recommended method is on the recipe. And I did want to make sure that they froze well and that they didn't get any freezer burn. I know that I've gotten some heat before for using too much tin foil, but in this case, I really wanted to make sure that we didn't get any freezer burn burritos. So that's why I'm doing that. Again, thank you guys so much, and I will see you all soon.
Out of use.